Thank you for joining us today. I'm Salim Al-Sawan from Badla Investment Company. In this session, we welcome Maarten Wetselaar, CEO of CEPSA, an integrated energy company focused on the energy transition. Now, what I'd like us to focus on is if you take us to when you were 25 to 30 years old, back in the energy industry, what was the scale of the changes you saw, and at what pace? And if I can ask you, going back then, what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
So, when I was 25, I started working in the energy industry, actually when I was 25. And the energy industry was a relatively simple place. The demand was growing outside Europe and particularly in the rest of the world, but it was pretty linear, demand for fossil fuels, a bit of a discussion about nuclear, but it was a pretty predictable world. In the 90s, there was demand growth, there was production growth. And so I guess if I had to give myself advice, it would be one thing I did that I would always continue to advise everybody. I went away. I went abroad. I was very keen to not be too comfortable in the country that I grew up in, which was the Netherlands, a small country, a very open country. But I thought I want to see the world. So when I was 28, I lived in Brazil, and then I stayed out for about 20 years before returning back home again. And I do think in the energy industry, but in general, I would give you that advice as well. Many youngsters here from the UAE who have a strong affiliation with their own country and a strong loyalty with their own country, but I think you will be a better contributor to the future of your country if you also get international experience. So I would advise you to do that. What I would advise myself to do differently is, as you grow up, also as you grow up as a child, you go kind of through the three phases of you learn the rules, your parents explain the rules to you, the company explains the rules to you, or the industry does. Then there's a period of life when you follow the rules, and then you break the rules. And that cycle is whether you're a child or whether you're a professional, everybody goes through that cycle. And the question, how fast do you go through that cycle? Because learning and following the rules is important because they are there for a reason, they're a historical reason or whatever. But if you spend 25 years following the rules before you ever break them, that's no fun. And secondly, the world isn't learning from you. You're just doing what you were told to do by the elders. And so speeding up that cycle and getting to the place where you feel comfortable breaking the rules and setting your own path and starting to have impact and changing the rules, shortening that cycle is, I think, something I would have liked to do earlier in my life. And I would certainly advise everybody on this panel and in this room, of very diverse age, by the way, to think of how can you get to the point where you start breaking the rules. Because that's when you start to contribute in a more diverse way than if you're simply following them.
Thank you, Maarten. That's very insightful. Maybe we can focus on today. Today we're seeing rapid change, acceleration and change. But I want to bring it back to that point of shortening the cycle of breaking the rules. Would you say that you're seeing that happening more and more within the youth today? And then also, I'd like to relate this to what to the initiative CEPSA is taking in the energy transition. If you could give us a brief color of what CEPSA is doing in the energy industry to, quote unquote, break the rules.
Yeah, I do think youth in general, and it's a very heterogeneous group, of course, but youth in general has been quite vocal about energy transition, about just transition, about circularity, about sustainability. My kids give me a lot of feedback in that area, and I'm sure many parents will have the same here. So I do think, I do think there's, on average, still too much respect in that conversation. I think youth could be. I mean, you don't have to be totally disrespectful, but I think you can be more challenging. Because the world and those in power, those who write the rules, respect to challenge. And so I think you could be more challenging. What CEPSA is doing is indeed trying to rewrite the rules and be quite radical in our transformation. We have a 100-year history as a company. We will celebrate 100 years in 2029, so we're almost there. So long history, and a long history as a large integrated oil and gas company, oil, gas and chemicals company in Spain. But we have a global footprint. The sun always shines on CEPSA 24 hours a day, but our main base is in Spain. But we've been a very happy and successful fossil fuel company doing upstream, downstream marketing, what you would expect us to do. 2 years ago, we decided to really change tack and to become a green molecule company. So we are investing almost all our capital now in 5 different energy transition solutions: sustainable aviation fuel, green hydrogen, green methanol, and we had a big announcement on green methanol this week in COP, green ammonia, and super fast charging. I'd say about, by far the majority of our capital goes into these solutions. But not only are we going therefore into new territory where the rules are not written yet. Nobody knows how the green hydrogen market or the green methanol market is going to work. So we're going to help write those rules, or we're going to write them if we're indeed the first. But we're also burning our boats. So we've arrived on this island by boat, let's say, and we are selling our upstream business before we have any cash generation from the new business. And I think that's one way to really change, if to force yourself to change. If you want to lose weight, the best thing is just not to have all those sweets in the cupboard, right? And so we've sold our sweets, and we still need to define and get successful in the new businesses, and that focuses the mind. And so that's what we've done. That's what we are doing. We're getting great feedback on it from civil society, but also particularly from the young people working in CEPSA, and the young people are joining CEPSA are a different group than would have joined CEPSA 5 years ago.
I really appreciate the analogy of selling the sweets and forcing yourself to change. And this brings me to my next question. Given where we are today and where we're going in the future, I'd like to know your view on how you expect change to develop over the next 20 or so years. And given that you gave us the advice to your younger self, what advice do you have for the young people in the room today, apart from shortening that cycle of breaking the rules?
I would say that there rarely have been... So the energy transition is, of course, a huge change. And with these big changes, and it's also true, let's say, in digital and in some other big change that society is undergoing, the pace of change always initially disappoints. You get very excited, internet, for those of you who are as old as I am, when internet came, we didn't really know what to do with it. You could look up the weather on a slow computer, but that was about it. And it took a long time for internet to have the kind of impact it has today. We are now only really accelerating the impact of an invention that got to us 30 years ago. And in the beginning, the impact was slow, and now it's totally no longer linear. It is exponential. And I think that's the same with climate change. We were working on solar and wind panels more than 20 years ago, and nothing really happened. Actually, the global energy system, when I joined the energy industry when I was 25, was 80% fossil fuels, 20% other. Nuclear, a bit of solar, wind and hydro, but essentially 80% fossil fuels. Today, the energy system is 80% fossil fuels. With all the changes going on, all the exciting projects we are discussing this week, it's still 80% fossil fuels. So you can see how the energy transition and the whole development of solar, wind and bio, etc., in the last 20 years, in some way it's gone very quickly, and in another way it's still really disappointing. And so we are about, my theory, we are about to embark on that exponential journey where it really starts to have an impact on our lives, etc. And that's when you want to join. That's, if you're young and you're thinking about what industry am I going to be part of, then this is the moment to join the energy industry, because it's the industry that's going to have the most impact on the world. Some people in AI might disagree with me, and I don't know enough about that to have that conversation. But the industry that needs to have most impact on the world and that is going to go into this exponential phase now is energy. So I decided to devote my career to it 25 years ago. I think if you make that decision today, you can't be wrong.
Thank you, Maarten. And I think you'll have some people coming up to you after the session. I'd like to switch it over to Ali. Ali, given your role at Thea, and given what you've heard from Maarten just now, what key skills and green skills do you think are key to the youth today in order to develop and to be an effective change maker in the energy transition journey?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you, Salim, and thank you for Mubadala Youth Council for hosting this session. And thank you, Maarten, the CEO of CEPSA, for insightful discussion. I would say that let's focus about the attitude before the skills. A friend of mine who's sitting between the audience, he taught me that hire for attitude, train for skills. So the attitude comes before the skills. If you have the right attitude, you will get the absolute value of that person, where you can upskilling him, add to that skills. And going back to this question, after getting the right attitude, in my humble opinion, that what kind of skills that we needed as youth as of today, I would say 3 skills. The first one is how can we exercise our shifting our mindset from the competitive mindset towards the collaborative mindset. This is one. Second, I would say how to be agile, because we have the speed of change is too high, and you have to be agile to accommodate those changes. The third one, where Thea Youth Council, they are trying to exercise it, is the design thinking process. You will have so many solutions, but the most important thing is to make it, those solutions, a customer-centric solutions. Couple of iterations, listen to the customers, and you will get the best solution to that. So, in a nutshell, the 3 things of skills that it comes after the attitude, the collaborative mindset. Secondly, is to be agile. The third thing is the design thinking process.
Great, thank you, Ali. Maybe we could switch gears here a bit and focus on, beyond the attitude and skills. There's one thing I'd like you to speak about, and that's mentorship. Now, yourself being a mentee of the COP28 president himself, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, how do you view mentorship, amongst the youth within the journey along the energy transition?
Salim, you tapped on a closest topic to my heart. I was lucky enough and honored and blessed to have 2 mentors during my journey. I would not say the harsh and soft, but I will give you an integrated story about an experience between both mentors. So after the announcement of the selection at the National Experts Program, they asked me to prepare a presentation to His Excellency Dr. Sultan with a proposal for the capstone project. I thought myself I'm the best guy doing presentations. I prepared 8 slides. I went to the first mentor. I told him, Chief, can I get your feedback on this presentation. I completed my presentation, and he told me, if you were part of my team, I will fire you on the spot. Well, thank you so much. Can you advise me? What shall I do? He said, you go to the ex-person and let him to teach you how to prepare an executive presentation. You have one slider. Do you think that His Excellency have the attention span or the patience span? I told him, inshallah. So I went and learned, and I didn't stop there. I said, I'm missing more. I started to YouTube His Excellency, Dr. Sultan, to understand his language. And then I went to him, I presented to him, and I told him in the middle of my presentation, Your Excellency, I got inspired by you, that one day we will stretch every single dollar from every kilogram of hydrogen. I give it a pause for milliseconds. The second proposal, he said, wait, from where you got the word stretching? I told him, Your Excellency, I have been YouTubing you more than 37 hours, and you have mentioned the word stretching from 2012 till the last virtual agreement in 2020 more than 17 times. He smiled. I knew that I clicked with him. Afterward, before the graduation, I was insisting to meet His Excellency to get his feedback before I go to the jury. His office, they told me he's busy. I told him I have to meet him. They gave me the first time an early slot, 8:30 a.m. It was virtual call. The camera is on. I saw the camera it gives me the wider camera, the formal flags. I said, there is something happening today. I took with him my time, the feedback, we shared the questions. You have to change, you have to tweak, you have to be politically smart here. After 1.5 hours in the social media, His Excellency Dr. Sultan is meeting John Kerry. If you ask me during the mentorship journey between the soft one, Allah yahfazah, I have 3 lessons I would love to share it with my brothers and sisters. The first one, you have to accept the constructive feedback, even if it's harsh. If you want to improve yourself, you have to accept the constructive feedback. The second thing is the commitment and how you can grab opportunities. And the third one, regardless, wherever you will reach, wherever you will stand, whatever your responsibilities, you have to give the time with quality to the young leaders. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ali. That's an inspiring story, and also shows you that mentorship is always a two-way street. It's the mentor and what the mentee does with that mentorship. So I'd like to bring it back to you, Maarten. Given the story Ali just shared, where do you see the role of mentorship within the youth, within the energy sector today, and what you expect from the mentees, the youth mentees, to extract out of this?
I think mentorship is a hugely powerful concept. Many people more advanced in their career start to think about the legacy they're going to leave. And the legacy they're going to leave is not the 58 presentations they've given or the 44 quarterly results they've presented. It's the lasting legacy ends up being about people. About the people that you've worked with, and about the people that you've helped develop, the people you gave opportunity to, or the people that gave you opportunity. So I think you cannot overinvest in people, And that's not just mentoring youth, it's more in general, giving people opportunity, giving people feedback, and giving them a chance to grow. Because also when you're 50 years old, you still have, in these, before you get a pension in Europe, it's like 67 nowadays, right? So we shouldn't just be, today is about youth, but I think there's development takes place at every stage of every career, and spending time on people, inspiring people, helping people, and also listening to people I think is never a bad idea. I'd say for mentorship in general does need a purpose. Too often I've had young people come to me in the very stage of my career, can you be my mentor? I say, okay, what do you want to achieve? Well, I don't know. Think a little bit more before you start a relationship, because it has to have a start, it has to have an end, and it has to have a purpose. Because otherwise it just becomes a general talk show or general advice, and I think that is then you're not respectful of the time of the people you're using. So think about what is the purpose, what will be the start, what will be the end of the relationship, and then it can be hugely productive and impactful. Having more than one mentor is a really good idea, because you learn different things from different people. I had two at some point in my career, and they basically gave me opposite feedback, which was really interesting. So one of them would whenever I produced something, would correct almost everything I did. And I became better because of it. He was a brilliant man, and I learned a lot from his corrections. And the other one never touched anything I did. He said, just go ahead with it, good luck. And I learned an enormous amount from that as well. And I think both lessons were valuable. So there isn't the perfect mentor out there. Go for diversity. And eventually, don't wait too long before you start mentoring, because the mentor learns as much from the mentee as the other way around. So make it two-way and start early. I think you're ready to become a mentor.
Thank you, Maarten. Thank you.
I'm told no. No, wait. He's the first mentor.
Thank you for your answer, Maarten. Belen, you joined CEPSA about a year ago to work on this transformational journey. However, your background is in economics and sustainability. So my key question to you is, what drew you to the energy sector, and why CEPSA?
Yes, so first of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity of being part of this roundtable. I think it's so special to be here and to be able to express my opinion as a young woman, also as a CEPSA employee, and to do so at a COP and alongside my CEO, which is a unique opportunity. So thanks, Mubadala and Maarten, of course. And so yeah, I joined CEPSA for a little over a year now, and I decided to join the company for several reasons. I think we are living an amazing transformation of the sector. The energy transition is an amazing opportunity, not only to learn, but also to be proactive, to be creative, to propose, to innovate. And what I thought is, okay, I have no technological background, I have no engineering background, but I want to contribute to this transition with a social vision, a public positioning vision, a communication vision. And I think that's also important, because we are now designing this new reality. Young generations are being part of the creation of this new reality, and all of us, we have to say, okay, I want that my future be this way. Not only the engineers are going to decide this new world. And the other thought that I had is, I'm a woman under 30, and I was seeing like more and more women being part of the energy sector, and it was something that really encouraged me and that motivated me. And I saw, for example, at CEPSA in the board of directors, a lot of women, and I thought, okay, we also need the women vision for this energy transformation. So it was like very important for me. And of course, regarding to the company, I saw at CEPSA a big company. So what is fantastic, because you are able to do like greater things. But sometimes for young generations, it could be like a negative factor, because sometimes when you are in a big company, it's more difficult to innovate, to be dynamic, to create. But what I found at CEPSA is like this perfect combination between a large company, but agile enough to move and to transform. And also something that I think is essential for young generation right now is to look for a specific project, a specific mission. And that's what I found at the positive motion strategy at the company. Because when you are in a company, you are just an employee. But when you are part of a project, it's like you feel important because you are designing that puzzle. You are like a piece of the puzzle. And of course, to have leadership that inspires you is something that for young people, I think it's also important. And so, yeah, I would highlight the special moment of the energy transition and also the specific characteristics of the company, of CEPSA, but regarding to a specific strategy, which is positive motion.
Great, thank you. And maybe Belen, since you do have your CEO here, do you have any questions that you'd like to direct to him?
Yes, so yeah, I'm going to get the opportunity to ask my CEO, of course. Yeah, so I look around at the company and I see like a lot of young people around me. We are a lot of young people at CEPSA right now. So I would like to ask you, Maarten, which kind of activities or projects do you think that are most important in the company in order to get this positive motion strategy also for youth?
Yeah, I think the most important, it was mentioned earlier, this whole theme about collaboration is important. When I joined the energy business, it was very well organized. There were people, there were oil people, there were gas people, there were chemicals people, there were marketing people, engineers, and everybody had their own role, and it was quite settled what everybody did. And the energy transition is totally breaking through that. And in order to be successful in a game that doesn't exist yet, that you're writing the rules of, you need collaboration and team sport. This is not something that you can do, that the engineers can solve, or the commercial people can solve, or the finance people can solve. This is team sport. So that horizontal collaborative effort, and not just within the company, but also between companies, we cannot make a hydrogen to green methanol chain ourselves. We need to collaborate with people who do solar wind. We need to collaborate with shipping companies, with the government, with the equipment manufacturers. It is a very complex collaboration effort, and that I think is where young people less settled in their ways. It's not 25 years of experience of this is how we do things here, but they come in and say, well, there's many ways we could do this, can help break through the silos. The industry has silos, and even a company like CEPSA, that I'm very proud to lead and that is transforming, has silos. And the people that have been in for 3 months don't even know there are silos. And so they naturally collaborate. But the people that have been there for 30 years say, no, this is the way it works, and therefore we're going to do this within my silo. And so I think the role for youth is to really connect, to be one collaborative and continuous layer in the company that connects the company, whereas people upstairs might be a bit more settled in their ways and not collaborating as much. And that's true within CEPSA, but I would also expect you and your colleagues to reach out to the rest of the industry and the rest of Spanish society and to be part of that debate and bring that into the company and bring our vision out again into the company, out again into society. So I think there's a lot you can do. And I would ask you, but also everybody here, don't wait to be asked or don't wait to be told to do it, just go do it. It's much better to ask for forgiveness once every 10 times than ask 10 times for permission.
Thank you, Maarten. That's a very insightful point, and I think the only way we can get through this energy transition is to do it together and is to break down the barriers. Marcus, you are a young leader in your own right. You founded the Youth Sustainability Alliance while still in school. So I'd like to hear from you. How does the Youth Sustainability Alliance engage in the transition to renewable energy?
So first of all, I want to thank you for welcoming me on this panel. So the Youth Sustainability Alliance is a fairly new nonprofit organization that emerged in 2022. So, and in terms of preliminary steps, our primary focus has been to establish our mission and vision, which is to, develop a network of environmental student-led organizations that accelerate sustainability and catalyze environmental awareness. We have chapters in Abu Dhabi being the head chapter, San Francisco, Canada, France, New Jersey, San Jose, and China. And I feel like this global network is, vital, and that interconnectedness is vital. At YSA, in terms of service work and, contributing to the energy transition, we offer a diverse set of pillars, right? Because, the youth is full of creativity, the youth is full of, diverse skill sets, and that's a major asset. First being research. Currently, we're partnered with NYUAD and researching how we can maximize energy efficiency when it comes to urban infrastructure in Abu Dhabi. Secondly, on the responsible investment side of sustainability, we engage our students in starting their own responsible investment funds. And currently, we have one called the GERF Environmentally Responsible Fund, which stands for the Guy Environmentally Responsible Investment Fund. And we are teaching our students how to maximize returns while synchronously creating the most sustainable impact as possible. And three, the Youth Sustainability Alliance is all about advocacy, right? We advocate in a variety of different mannerisms. First being policy discussions, policy insight reports, both domestically and internationally. Then next, we actually advocated for more renewables on our school campus, and I'm proud to announce that that was actually successful, and we are building our new, the construction is finished. The new ACS campus in Saadiyat, which consists of 1,300 solar panels, a 1 megawatt peak system, and which generates 35% of our school's energy, which shows the major strides of the energy transition within the academic environment. And then, lastly, we're all about community-based initiatives, engaging the youth, doing youth workshops, educating about the detriments of climate change, but also how critical renewable energy is, its cost efficiency, its effectiveness. We're in the process of developing a documentary on how the youth can be engaged in this transition as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Marcus. Wow, are you sure you're in school?
Yes.
That's great. Well, Marcus, I mean, your youth-led initiatives also engage with communities, companies, governments to achieve sustained impact on a global scale. Well, now you're in the presence of CEO of one of the large energy companies. Is there anything you'd like to ask him? Any information or insights you'd like to get out of him today?
Yes. First of all, I want to just say it's an honor to be with you today. And my question is, considering your expertise, Maarten, what can schools do to create pathways for students to pursue careers in renewable energy?
What I found most powerful is to really expose students at an early age, not when they're 18, but when they're kind of 13, 14, and still wondering what to do with their which subjects to take, which subjects to drop, to really take them into practice. So don't go hold a presentation, but take them out into the solar farms or onto the offshore platforms, but show them, the difference the energy industry makes, but also very much in practice. What does this industry do? How does it work? And how does it impact on people? Because what I find is that people, once you're kind of in the university, you've already closed off options, and people often don't do that in a very planned way. And so my sense is the industry has been far too passive in selling itself to the 13 and 14-year-olds. It sells itself to the 24-year-olds, and that's fine. But that's a fixed supply. By the time everybody's 24, we're not going to have more engineers than we have. But when they're 13 or 14, we can still double the amount of engineers in that group, or mathematicians, or whatever we're looking for. So industry shouldn't focus as much on the students, or it should focus on the students, but much more down into the 13, 14-year-olds and learn to communicate with them, because that's the people we want to hire in 10 years' time. So I think that is something we can do better, but everybody in industry here should take that lesson away. Because once people are 24, there's a fixed supply, and we're all going to fight over them. Yeah. So let's create that supply.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maarten. Amir, you're part of the Mubadala Direct Investments team. In your role at Mubadala, you invest in transition companies and you also support or provide support to your portfolio companies in achieving their clean energy goals. However, your career took a few different turns before you landed in investments. What lessons do you have for other youth members if they would like to explore the intersection of the investments world and energy transition?
Thank you, Salam. And first off, thank you, Maarten, and the rest of the panelists. Really appreciate being in your presence. So, like you said, Salam, my career has not been a straightforward one. I did not study accounting or finance. I didn't go to investment banking and end up at a place like Mubadala. I did my undergraduate degree in genetics, master's in data science. A couple of my professional, just outside of university, was working in healthcare, biotech, startups. I had no ambition to work in finance at all coming out of university in my first couple of years. It was actually at one of these experiences at one of these biotech startups that I got to engage and have a conversation with these venture capitalists. And as venture capitalists do, they like to spew out a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It sounds really great on paper. And I believed it. It sounded exciting to me. Things like, you get to invest in growing and exciting companies like CEPSA, help them achieve their ambitions and scale, and grow alongside them along the way. And I think, like a lot of young professionals in my position, and I'm sure many of you in the audience and all over the place, how the hell do I even break into investments? How can I break into finance without the background or the pedigree to move forward into that career path? And I think one piece of advice that kept with me and I took to heart and actually actioned on was, turn that interest into something that's tangible. Turn it into something that you can demonstrate and convey to potential employers, people out there, and just showcase that this is something that you're serious about. And for me, what that meant, back when I used to live in Canada, I actually started this organization that provided diligence advisory services for a bunch of different angel investment groups across Ontario. These are pro bono organizations. They did not have the financing to hire analysts to do their diligence, and we thought, why not? Let's help these guys out. And I like to attribute that sort of aha moment to, my subsequent opportunities and experiences in finance and investments and where I am today at Mubadala. Furthermore, actually, we've institutionalized this as an organization that hires students and young professionals like me who do not come from a finance background, and basically provide them with the opportunity to work on some of these engagements. And we actually have a pretty successful and impressive placement rate. And so, the key lesson that I want to share is, if you have that interest, take it a step further and showcase something demonstratable and tangible. And I think it's even more important in the world of impact investments and the energy transition, because coming from a impact investment point of view, you are investing in companies on the leading edge of the energy transition, and not even just the energy transition, because there's other elements of the fight against climate change as well. Circularity issues, things like the clean transition, as I like to call it. You need to showcase you're investing in companies with a purpose. You need to showcase that you are a purpose-driven an individual who is ready to make those investments, right? And so I think, just jumping on what I said earlier, showcasing that tangible interest and wanting to make a difference, I think it will really set you apart from, a bunch of other candidates who also want to break into the impact investing space.
Thank you, Amir. Just being conscious of time, I'd like to ask the full panel one last question. We spoke about breaking down the walls, shortening the cycle of breaking the rules, getting to know each other and collaborate with each other. If you had to leave here with one call of action to the audience and presence, what would it be? And of course, I would start with you, Maarten.
Before I share that, let me just thank you and my fellow panelists for a very good session, and thank Mubadala for putting it on. If you look around yourself, by far the busiest stand in the energy transition hub, the best coffee as well. I can advise it to you. It's and in general for putting on a great program here. Mubala is a fantastic shareholder of CEPSA, and we're very, very proud to be a part of the family. Now, I would say my advice would be, you want to live your life in a way that you much more often say, I wish I hadn't done that, than saying, I wish I'd done that. So take the risk, find the courage to commit rather than omit. And you get it wrong sometimes, but you get much more diverse experience by overcommitting than by undercommitting. So have the courage, and occasionally you say, I wish I hadn't said that, I wish I hadn't done that. But much more often you will be pleased that you pushed ahead with it. So by the end of the day, ask yourself, how often did I commit rather than omit, and try to move the boundary. Oh, you have one.
Yes, Belen, please.
Yeah, thank you. So my call of action would be that you don't have to hesitate if you want to be part of the energy sector. It doesn't matter if you are a woman or a boy, if you are under 30, if you have technological or technical background or not. I think you have to come to the energy sector. You have to come to CEPSA, of course. You can send us an email if you want to come. Yeah, but no, yeah, for sure. I would say that you have to be in this sector. From my experience, it's amazing, and we have in our hands the chance to design the new reality. And we need all the different perspectives. And if we create a new reality on the basis of inequality, it's not going to be an equal new reality. So we need all of us in this energy transition. But my call of action would be also for companies, not only for youth. I think companies have to trust in youth. They have to hire young people, but also to give them opportunities based on their talents, and to take into account and to consider the special characteristics, demands, needs of young generations, because we are different. And for example, at CEPSA, when I see a program that we have in social media, a young ambassador program, I think, okay, my company is considering my preferences for social media, for example. So I think it's very important to see like companies are trusting in ourselves. So a call for action for both parts.
Thank you.
Well, Salim, I will not say be humble. I will say stay humble. Secondly, keep the connection and the learning process. It's open. You will learn from the kids and the seniors. So stay humble. And the third one, you have to recognize each and every single team member. Today, in front of everyone, without my team, Taqa Youth Council, I will not be able to achieve anything. I will not be able to move a needle. I'm nothing without my team. So thank you in front of everyone to the Taqa Youth Council.
Yeah, so my call to action is, I think, focus on what you're good at, focus on what you're passionate about. And just to dive in a little again into my background, I used to work in consulting for 2 years. From the beginning of my tenure to the end of my tenure, there was the benefit of being in consulting was you got to work across a range of different industries, a variety of different corporate functions. You could be doing HR for a metals manufacturer, AI for an agricultural company, things like that. One observation I saw, specifically for the energy transition, was during the end of my tenure, the sheer amount of energy transition projects impacting every single facet of the org structure was coming into place. So my takeaway is, whether you like it or not, the energy transition is coming for you. So might as well focus on what you're good at. And actually, I'll leave it off with, we actually met with one of our partners a month ago, and they said something that I really enjoyed. All the oil and gas and energy investment bankers became hydrogen investment bankers overnight. So, yeah, I'll leave it with that.
Mark?
Well, I call upon the youth to firstly educate yourself, on the importance of renewable energy and the transition and how vital, the renewable energy is in the different sectors. Secondly, foster collaboration and diversity. Engage in advocacy through, platforms like YSA, where you can engage in policy discussions, where you can engage in, getting your voice heard by society. each individual should realize that, you know, their actions play a crucial role in, you know, a more sustainable world, and your own actions really kind of have a perpetuative impact upon the universal whole and how the world is very situated. And then finally, I just want to leave it off with the note that, you know, to the youth, it's certain we have no time. You know, time's running out, and you know it's certain that subsequent generations may not be here to feel, to see, to be present in our environments that we have in the world today and our, you know, rich ecosystems. And I feel like this, you know, vulnerability should be our call to action. So that's my message for the youth.
Thank you, Marcus, and thank you to all the panelists. Very engaging and interesting discussion. Maarten, thank you for your time. Belen, Ali, Amir, Marcus, thank you again.